I got a stand mixer, and the first thing that I did was make bread. Like outside of the occasional buttermilk biscuits, I haven't baked, and especially not with yeast in a long, long time, and I've never been really good at it. So, what kind of bread to make? Well, I went with a simple white bread recipe. I had run out of store-bought bread, and I was wanting slices for sandwiches and for morning toast. Unlike biscuits, which I mostly make by feel, I really wanted to follow this recipe closely. Like baking is more of a science than an art, and so I carefully measured each ingredient. I took the temperature of the water before mixing the yeast and sugar, and I kept a close eye on the stages of proofing. And in the end, it came out really, really good. It's not perfect. Maybe ever so slightly denser than I wanted it to be, but it's still very fluffy. A solid B plus, I would say. And honestly, the best rating of the resulting loaf is that I have eaten it every day. It's almost all gone, and I still think it's really good. So huzzah, I still got it. And now to make some more and just keep perfecting the recipe. Eventually, I'll branch out into more elaborate baking projects like croissants or babkas or tiered cakes, even. Who knows? But for right now, I still need the template of a tried and true classic, the loaf of white bread. I bring all of this up because I think I just watched the horror movie equivalent of that. Now, let me finish because I know calling something white bread is essentially saying it's boring or dull, and that's not what I'm meaning here because homemade white bread is actually very good. It's not boring in its taste, it's only boring in its inspiration. The 2009 Norwegian Splatterfest Dead Snow is about zombie Nazis, and it's full of blood and guts and jump scares and creative ways to die. They're really showing off their special effects chops on this one, and it's a lot of fun for the horror lover. And hey, I love a slice of homemade white bread. But like the white bread I just made, Dead Snow is carefully following a tried and true recipe. A group of friends go into the woods to party and have sex. One of them's a dirty-minded jokester. One of them's the guy who knows horror movie tropes. One of them is a hottie who's into sex. They meet a harbinger. They get picked off one by one. There's a demonstrative first death, a showy second death. There's a death while fucking. There's the fight back, the final girl, and the end. Or is it? If you're a horror movie lover, you have already seen Dead Snow, even if you've never watched it before in your life. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Like the bread, I have some qualms with the final product, and Dead Snow is not going to make you think differently about the cabin in the woods or zombie subgenres. But it, like B plus, like there's a reason we still keep making this shit. Hi, Cecil.
Hi, Jeffrey.
What's your favorite baked good?
I mean, bread is great. Like just a really good bread is delicious.
Like a
And
white bread,
it's,
or do you have a type of bread? Are you like a 9 grain or whatever? Or
I mean, when I make bread at home, it's usually white. Actually, rosemary bread is one of my favorites.
ooh,
It's just so simple. You just chop up some rosemary really fine and just throw it on in there. And it gives off that aromatic smell that is just so intoxicating about rosemary. I love it.
yeah.
I have tried croissants. You and I took a croissant making class.
We did.
I have successfully made croissants once, and I have unsuccessfully made croissants once. So outside of class, it's a little shaky, a little
We
shaky.
we did great in class because some of it was already a little bit prepped for
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
So the
Also
yeah.
having like an actual chef be like, okay, do this. Now we're going to go on to step two.
Uh-huh.
Here we go. Here in this perfect test kitchen in
Yes.
which everything is cooled to the right temperature, the butter won't melt,
You've got like a
all of that.
large surface to work with.
Oh my
Like I
God,
don't have
that's
a
half
ton
the
of counter
battle.
space. Yeah.
Yeah, that's half the battle because that laminated pastry dough, it gets a little out of control. Um, I so when it talked about your bread recipe, Jeffrey, did you add anything? Did you add any sugar or honey or milk or anything like that?
I followed this recipe to a T, and it
Okay,
called for obviously it needs sugar for the yeast, and then it's got
sure.
another like tablespoon of sugar in the recipe.
Okay,
Um, yeah, it was really, really good. It was very yeasty, like just the
yeah,
smell of a white bread loaf is so nice. I haven't had a homemade white bread in forever, and I just forgot like what a nice bread smell you get throughout
yeah.
the apartment. To your point about a rosemary bread, sounds delightful.
So
Um,
easy.
yeah. Because yeah,
And then when you, especially, if you're going through it just slice by slice, chances are your loaf will start to go a little stale.
mhm.
And that's when you make some cinnamon toast with the leftovers.
That's absolutely it. Yes. Well, I also did the trick too, which I've done several times before, which is always sort of fun, is just I just bought a thing of heavy cream and then just I threw that in the stand mixer and made butter and buttermilk.
Oh, yeah.
Uh I don't know, it's fun. So yeah, that's the next thing is I've got my little butter bell all set up, so start doing cinnamon toast. I've
Ooh.
been doing toast with like jam and butter every morning anyway, so it's been nice.
I've always said if I were to ever open a restaurant, it would be called Toast, and it would be in homage to the humble toasted bread and
Uh-huh.
spread. That's it. Just breads and spreads. Delicious, delicious bread. Delicious, delicious spread.
I'm just going to throw a call out there to you or to anyone listening. If you have a brand of toaster, I honestly do not care the cost. If you have a brand of toaster that you're like, this thing is to die for, I just have been struggling to figure out a good toaster. I've had many toaster, like I'm talking about the
Yeah,
push down toaster, not
mine
the
is dead
toaster
too.
oven.
Mine is the timer spring sprung. It's like, do you want this either not toasted or
Yeah.
burnt? Those are the two settings now.
Yeah, I've been through a couple of toasters in the last several months, and both of them are like, what if the northwest corner of your bread is black and the rest of
Yep,
it is white?
yep, that's about right.
So if you're like the Breville $200 at Williams Sonoma is to like just give me a solid vote for what's a good toaster because I have not found it yet.
You might have to get a toaster oven.
No, I don't have the counter space. Good
Yeah,
Lord.
they're
I
quite
know.
large, aren't they?
They are. Well, speaking of toast, we
Speaking of
watched a
eating
lot of
delicious
people.
things,
Yeah, a lot of people get toasted in this movie. Yeah. Dead Snow, Norwegian film. We start with the with a woman running through a forest at twilight in the Hall of the Mountain King, which
yes,
is the song whistled by the man in Fritz Lang's M.
yeah,
It's also a Norwegian composer. It was
yep,
part of the Peer Gynt
yeah,
suite. Um, it's a very funny song to hear for a chase scene. And but yeah, it's a great chase scene, a lot of jump scares, a lot of running, and then I think the most visceral part of that is she slides down a hill and we just watch a leg snap in half on a
Oh
rock.
my God. Like she rolls right into a rock. You think nope, she's not doing good. She rolls
Mm-mm.
into a tree.
Uh-uh.
I will say, we're talking about, I think your opening monologue is spot on. This movie is like, okay, there is a template that has been followed since time immemorial. And by that, I mean the late 70s, early 80s.
Uh-huh.
And this movie loves that. This movie's like, we're going to follow the template and we're going to do exactly we're going to follow the recipe. However, I think what's so unique about this movie is how they conceal what the monster is until like the sort of the midway point, and then
Hmm.
it's full on Nazi zombies
Yeah.
from then on out.
Yeah.
But they do such a great creative job, especially in this opening chase sequence of um it's just shadowy figures behind trees. It's
Uh-huh.
the rustle of birds and the look on this woman's face. I especially like when she stops and takes a breath. She's like, "Oh, I think I've outrun them." No, no,
You
you've
have
not
not.
outrun them.
No.
No.
They are fast zombies. These
And
are
they don't have to breathe or
mm,
stop or they're not fatigued. They don't feel pain, I'm assuming.
yeah. They remind me a little bit of the vampires from Dusk Till Dawn. They
Yeah.
are very strong,
Yeah.
very fast, but also very easy to explode them.
They come apart quite easily, and there's a lot of them.
Yes,
Because in
yes.
the beginning, I was like, how many Nazi zombies can there possibly be? And there's a lot.
Well, we learned from the Harbinger there can't be more than 300 because that's how many were
Hmm.
in
Yeah.
the Einsatzgruppe.
But you're
Uh,
thinking, but I don't know, but you're thinking, like, oh my gosh, these poor people in the cabin in the woods, there's like them against, 5 or 6 zombies. No, no. No, no,
Mm-mm.
no.
Nope. No, there might be endless zombies up here. Who even knows? Well, boom, we get our title card, Dead Snow, and then now we cut to the opening of Funny Games.
Yeah.
It's just SUV driving through the mountains. This is Funny Games North.
Funny Games, The Shining, all
Hmm.
those. We
People,
must
it's
feel
just
a
yeah,
sense of space, a sense of distance, a sense of isolation.
it's this overhead shot with music playing of a car going through this mountain pass, and then we realize that they're changing the song. That the song is
On the
diegetic.
radio.
It's on the radio. So, but we've got two cars. We've got boy car and girl car.
Great.
Hmm.
Why not?
So roll call for our seven people
Oh, here
coming
we
out
go.
to the cabin in the woods. In the boy car, we have Martin. These are all med students too. So
Yes.
we presume they're all in their like mid 20s, maybe.
Yeah.
Um,
The most nervous, the
mhm.
most med student, I would say. Like he
Yes.
looks like you look like you're going to be a doctor.
He is reading a book called
Yes.
Accident and Emergency Medicine.
Okay. All right. So we got like uptight friend.
He's also will learn pretty soon that he is squeamish around blood.
Ooh,
Just
which
the
all of
sight
his
of
friends,
blood.
oh no, all of his friends make fun of him for. But listen, he gets over that real fast.
He does. Um, Vegard is driving.
Pretty
Vegard,
hair.
pretty hair, pretty boy. He is ex-military, long hair. Uh, the most practical of the bunch.
Yes.
Like he is
Chill.
he's the hero here. Like,
Yes.
but obviously not the main character. He's not the hero in terms of protagonist. Hero in terms of like his utility.
He's like a cowboy. Like he
Yeah.
loves his snowmobile,
Hmm.
takes care of it, like has that kind of man love. This snowmobile is an extension of my penis, and I will
Hmm.
kiss it every night before I go to bed,
Yeah.
as most men do.
Uh-huh. In the game of Fuck, Marry, Kill, he's most likely to be Mary.
Yeah.
He's good enough looking. He's kind of his personality
Sensible.
is
Yeah.
kind of basic. Like
Yeah.
it's neither offensive nor exciting. And
But
yeah,
responsible,
and
fun loving.
responsible. Yeah.
Great.
Um, we've got Erland, the movie nerd.
Uh-huh. He's a bit of the clown. Like we have our sort of two, like the clown trope is sort of split
Yes.
into two guys. But Erland is, he's the kind of blustery Falstaffian, let's
Uh-huh.
get drunk. I don't like this song on the radio. I'm gonna make a stupid joke about it kind of
Yes.
guy.
And then there's Roy, who is the sophomoric. Everything is sexual to him. Everything
Yes.
is a sexual joke. And he's also a bit of a hothead. Like he's real defensive and
Yeah.
he's also a bit of a joker too. But everything has to be about like one of the first things out of his mouth is making a 69 joke.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Literally the introduction to that character. Admittedly, not an unattractive guy, though. I was like, oh, hey there. Hey
Uh-huh.
there, hot Pee Wee Herman. What's up? You're like, you can keep that pretty hair, boy. I'll take you because you look damaged.
So there's the other car, which is the ladies. We've got Liv is driving. Liv is just very tall Scandinavian blonde-haired lady. I
Yep.
didn't get a lot about Liv as a person in this, like her character. She just seemed kind of there. And then Hannah, that is
Yep.
Martin's partner.
Yep.
Hannah is a white lady with dreadlocks.
Yep.
Mhm. And in the back seat is Chris, and she is very single. That is the
Very single.
terminology. Yes.
Very blonde, very single.
Uh,
And then
and
and then our last is Sarah.
Sarah, who is Vegard's girlfriend.
Oh, right. Okay, so who is that's right. So Sarah is the one who's hiking across the mountain in the beginning, yes?
Yes, so we learned that was Sarah in the
Mhm.
opening sequence that got et by the Nazis.
And they're like, yeah, Sarah's just out on like a 3-day trek across the mountain because she's much more sporty than we are.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
expecting her late today.
Yeah, she's the
because
most athletic of the bunch, and she's cross-country skiing to the cabin over like
right.
3 days or
Oh
something.
my gosh,
And it's
Norway.
her cabin, like I think it's her family's cabin up in the top of this hill.
Yes,
This is their Easter holiday. They're all, yeah, just hanging out together. They're
spring
gonna
break, yo.
yeah, they're gonna do some snowmobile tubing. They're gonna make hot dogs, listen to rock and roll, have some snowball fight. It's just gonna be a
Yeah,
fun time for these grad students.
it'll be great.
Hmm. This notion when they arrive, Vegard gets the snowmobile off of the trailer, and the whole thing is he's going to snowmobile all their luggage up to the cabin, but they have to hike it because there's no road to the cabin. And he says it is a 45-minute hike up
And
the
not
hill.
all their luggage, because I think like Sarah or one, no, not Sarah.
Hannah,
Hannah is like tracking like a
like
four-wheeled rolly
like a
suitcase.
carry-on. Yeah.
I was like, that is, you should put that on the mobile because
Yeah,
45 minutes of dragging a suitcase through snow, no, thank you.
absolutely not. Uh, I love how much Vegard loves his snowmobile. Like he is like taking this up little ramps of snow,
Yeah.
even though he's hauling luggage.
Swish, swish.
uh, Also, we know that there is no cell phone reception up there or minimal.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. And then Erlen has to bring up like how many classic horror films start with friends going to a cabin with no cell phone reception. And people start naming some films. Even Chris starts flirting with Erland pretty early on, and she's like, "Well, April Fool's Day, right?"
I was like, damn, girl, deep cut. All right.
Yeah.
And you can tell that, he's like, what? She's
Oh.
beautiful and she's heard of films? Sproing.
Oh my God, put a ring on it, Erland.
Yeah,
Uh they um they play Twister is another thing that they do.
sure. I mean, why not? And they're like, I don't even know why we play this game. And like, somebody puts their butt in his face. And they're like, oh,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
butts.
It it is a very horny game, that Twister.
Is it though? I don't know. Maybe I never played it with people that there's like fraught with sexual tension like that. And like
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think of like Twister and Settlers of Catan being like opposite ends of the same coin. It's just all like sublimated sexual energy.
Probably everything is in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
I think I remember playing Twister like as a kid at some like church thing or something and not thinking anything of it because you're like 7 or
Yeah.
something,
It's just like wiggly body parts when
And
you're
then I
that
didn't
young.
play it again until like freshman orientation camp
Yeah.
for college. And then once you're doing that and you're 18 years old,
Yeah.
you're
And
twisting
you're
around, you're like, I was a lot like Erland in this. I was like, what a dumb game. What a
oh,
fun
oh.
game.
Oh my. I also don't I'm also a long tall person, so I'm like, all right foot green, sure, this isn't hard. I'm just gonna like mount you and reach right over you.
Uh-huh. Oh, somebody's been reading Anais Nin with their erotic phrasing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've got it's sort of interesting like the dynamics here. I think one of the weird things in this movie is that we've got our bag of archetypes, right? And we've emptied our little bag of archetypes onto the table, and now we're going to position them here and there and wherever. But there's something where it doesn't quite know what to do with anything. Like Vegard becomes really useful when he starts fighting Nazis, like when he
Yeah.
gets dropped in the cave and everything like that. Liv kind of has nothing to do. Uh, and Vegard in these scenes kind of has nothing as well. And then you've got Martin and his girlfriend Hannah that they have this weird scene wherein he's like talking about anesthesia
Yeah.
from Middle Ages,
From medieval times.
which
And
involves putting a pillow over a person's face.
which I guess is a joke is that there is no anesthesia. It's
Right.
like but I was like, I don't, what is happening here? At which point Hannah goes, no, stop, no, 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 stop, stop, stop.
Uh-huh.
Record scratch. Everybody else is like chilling out playing Twister, and they're like, are, are we about ready to what is happening here?
Yeah.
Hannah gets really upset. She says she's claustrophobic, which will come into play
Uh-huh.
later. I was like, I don't what Martin, Martin,
Yeah.
dear, love, my dear,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah. I it was just such a weird thing of like putting a pillow over a person's face and holding down on it for too long.
They're like, hey, do you want to try some waterboarding?
Yeah, it was very
You just
strange. I
want
thought
to check it out, but I'm not going to tell you. We're just gonna jump right in. There's no safe word.
seems like a better way to present her claustrophobia than with this scene. I don't know. It just was an
I know.
odd scene.
Yeah.
Uh,
How soon does Roughhouse turn to tears? Is
that's
the
right. Okay, well, there's someone outside because Liv gets freaked. Oh, Liv goes to the outhouse, so we learn that that's where the toilet is. I'm like, fuck this, you guys. Like, uh, as Roy says later in the movie, we should have gone to the beach.
uh-huh
You know what's really nice? A resort with toilets in your rooms.
shitting in an air condition or in an air controlled heat
Uh-huh.
temperature controlled place.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't mind an outhouse. I don't mind throwing on some shoes to go out and doing a number two every once in a while.
Sure. The frozen outhouse. I
Yeah.
kind of don't mind it for like summer camping
Oh,
or
sure. Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, there's some shit moving out in the woods.
Yeah. We have a visitor. There's
Mm-hmm.
someone spying on the tree line.
This uh suddenly there's a man at the door. He's
First
our
jump scare. Well,
yeah,
actually, after the sort of intro, but this
yeah,
is a we've got Roy. I think he's like everybody kind of goes to the front door and he walks outside and he's like, that was probably just a moose.
uh-huh.
And he steps to the side and there's a man standing behind him. I was
Yes.
like, this is a very effective, like no special effects, just just you stand here, just like this is some really cute directing choreography.
It totally is. Sudden Man is at the door
Sudden
and
man.
yep. Uh he is okay, so we what movie? Oh, we talked about this last week in The Omen is that I went off of on Father Brennan for not being very gentle in the way he tells his narratives.
Yeah,
This man is a descendant of Father Brennan.
yeah.
He might be his Norwegian cousin, I don't know. But this this guy immediately comes in. He's like he wants a cup of coffee. They make him
Okay.
coffee. Who made the coffee? Hannah raises her hand. Is it any good? No. And then he just sits in silence for a long fucking time.
Yeah. Takes one of their beers, opens
Uh-huh.
it, rolls
Roll.
a cigarette. You can
Uh-huh.
tell that every look at everyone's face is like, what the fuck? This guy has just invited himself in and made himself at home.
This
At
is
no
one
time
of
does he say his name, who
no.
he is, where he's from, what the fuck he's doing. Maybe it's a cultural thing. I feel like Americans are so much more like stranger danger.
Yes.
And I get the feeling that, maybe the Scandinavians are like, it's coconut culture versus peach culture, I guess. That whole
Yeah.
thing of like, yes, we will make you a coffee and okay, sure, that 5 minutes and then you're out the door.
Yeah.
So this guy's definitely overstaying his welcome a little bit.
He is. You know what's funny though is that like this would be mine. I think I would be in a panic attack. Like if
Oh
we were
yeah.
all if this
Yeah.
person showed up and was behaving this way, I'm like I would be grabbing a knife from the kitchen.
Yeah.
I would be ready to knife this man.
It's also
And
like the third thing out of his mouth is you stuck up spoiled brats don't even did you do any research on this land before you came to snowmobile here? And I'm like, wait, did you just we invited you in and now you're going to insult us?
yeah,
Dude, you got to fucking go.
yeah. It's really awkward. This movie is definitely going for comedy. It is not a baseline
Yes.
comedy. It is a baseline horror movie.
Yes, which I appreciate. I
Yes.
like this ratio to horror to comedy rather than the like. I mean, I'm not like not poo-pooing anything else, but just saying like Little monsters, Dale,
Tucker and
Dave
Dale versus Evil.
versus
Yeah.
evil, like that is much more baseline comedy with horror elements. This is definitely horror movie with comedic elements.
Yes.
That's my sweet spot.
Yeah. And it is, I think, for the effect of the horror, it leans into these types of beats, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't need to create a realistic scene. It doesn't want to belabor the actual fear of a man showing up and
Yeah.
being this way.
Yeah.
Um, but
Like he's cantankerous, but
uh
he doesn't read threat level until he starts choking people out.
yeah, I would say he reads threat level to me the moment he arrives, like in a realistic film,
Yeah.
like a
Oh yeah.
realistic drama. I would be
I
like,
mean,
oh, this is
talk
like
about funny games. This man
this
has
is funny games.
insinuated himself into their
Yeah.
home. Or if you've ever seen Borgman, that's
Oh,
another
okay.
good film that about just like the sort of the rules of politeness versus your
Uh-huh.
own personal safety.
Yes. So he kind of reads them about this area of Eastland, and this little village town of Oaksfjord.
Oaksfjord. It
And
was a dark and stormy night in 1942.
so the idea was during World War II, Einsatz, the German army, the Nazis had made their way up into Norway. They occupied the area, and he says, the German army oftentimes would, when they overtook land, they generally tried to get on with the people there, but this commander Herzog and his men did not. They were constantly looting and robbing and pillaging and attacking the villagers,
Torturing.
torturing, and eventually, after doing this for so long during this war, the 3,000 citizens of Oxford had an uprising using farm tools,
Yeah.
pitchforks and axes and chainsaws, and then they attacked the 300 soldiers,
And they
and
chased them up into the mountains,
and it was assumed that the soldiers all froze to death.
which they did.
Yeah.
But just a more animated death than one would expect.
The way this Harbinger guy smacks, just almost every word is just a like the mic is picking this up. He smacks between clauses and sentences, and
Yeah.
it's a lot. They really the Foley in the scene is really, really great, because even the sound of this cigarette paper rolling,
Yeah.
the crink, every bit is kind of it's an unnerving noise. Like it's
Yeah.
activating, like it's creating misophonia in anyone watching this movie. But this the question that ran through my mind throughout this movie, and I don't think the movie really answers it other than to say just because, I think is their answer. But my question was, why did we choose Nazis as our zombie villain?
Sure.
And I don't know that this movie really answers it other than like, seems fun. Like it's a good backstory.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Nazis are immensely killable.
They're fun to kill. Yeah. It
Lots of
makes
fun.
them super
Like it's kind
evil.
of like we can all get on board with this.
Hmm.
Let's assume that we can all get on board with this. But it's also you have kind of moralistic punch a Nazi free reign over, zombies, just normal zombies are kind of everyday people that have just died and have been reanimated. And so it has this thing of like, oh my gosh, that's my sister. That's not your sister anymore. That's a zombie. Oh no, I have to kill my zombie sister.
Right.
Versus this has much more of a like, kind of like the vampires in From Dusk Till Dawn. Let's kill some vampire strippers and truckers,
Yeah.
you know? But I think it's because like already everyone's on board with like baddie. You literally,
Yes.
it's like what was the like the sketch where the British sketch comedy where they're like, wait, we have skulls on our we have are we
Are
the
we the
baddies?
baddie? Are we the
Are
baddies?
are we the yes, they're immediately baddies,
uh
which is great. And we're gonna get into the sort of thinking zombie versus brain zombie, brain hungry
Yes.
zombie in a
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's some interesting things there, and I think you bring up some really good points about like the imminent punchability of the zombie. It gives you the moral upper hand
Yeah.
to root against them, and then also it provides them a way to, there's this kind of idea that the Nazis were like great strategists or
Yes.
something,
What's
and
they were great strategists. They were also they experimented with some weird ass shit.
yeah,
Like we were all kind of raised on the like Hitler looking for the Ark of the Covenant or the
right,
Spear
yeah,
of Destiny.
yeah,
I don't know, just speed freaks, just running around, just being like, this is what we're
yeah,
doing.
yeah,
So
and
it
so
has
yeah,
there's a mystery, there's a nefarious mystery around the fall of the Third Reich that I
hmm
think they're like, I don't know, if we found out Hitler or this weird sect of Nazis were into like making zombie soldiers, you know
yeah.
what? Not terribly surprising.
Yeah. And then also once we get into the second half of the film when the Nazis are really present, visible to us, um, they are a little bit strategic.
Yes. Oh, I would say
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah. Okay, so essentially he tells them that, you got to tread gently. There's an evil presence and an evil this is an evil you don't want to awake is what he
You're
tells all the kids.
doomed,
Yeah.
doomed. But also, he hears that Sarah has been out trekking across, and he's like, oh no, she
Uh-huh.
trekked across that mountain. Oh no. I want to go back to this thing of like, did you all do any research into this land? Like, dude, what library are they going to look that up in?
Right.
Like,
Who
come
does
on.
research on I mean, who does like, let's do a full deep dive history into a place we're going to go one time for an
Yeah, for
Easter
like
break?
3 days.
If I were going to, if I were going to go to Thailand for vacation, I would do a lot of research on
Yes.
Thailand.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to a cabin in the woods and I'm
In
not
your own
going
country.
to,
Yeah.
in my own country, and I'm not seeing any museums or interacting with any other people, I do not need to know shit. But it is what it is. This is where we're at. Roy gets real flippant with him, and he gets grabbed or by the throat by
I
this man,
know.
told to fuck off.
Scandinavians have some really interesting I'm just thinking back to like um Let the Right One In
Uh-huh.
and the sort of like uh crumbling toxic masculinity that is, sort of that the sort of 80s-ness of it all that film handled. And I think there's a bit of that here. This we are tough, we are men, we live on the ice, we eat scraps of reindeer. I don't fucking know. But it's very much like the like grumpy old man, just like cannot cantankerous. We're such isolated, strong, cold people.
Yeah.
And like Roy has a look of like, oh shit on his face, but at no point do they fight back. Either they're like, okay, all right, this dude's just making a point by like putting hands on people.
Yeah. That was where I don't know if it's a cultural thing. I don't know. I can't imagine Norwegians are okay with this type of
No, I don't
behavior
think
from a
so.
stranger. It just is a weird thing that they all just seem to be bored by his presence and just waiting for him
Yeah,
to
I don't
leave as
literally.
opposed to being disturbed by it.
I think it's like Liv is Liz literally. It's either like I think Liv is like nodding off
Yes.
while he's telling the story. She's like, okay, it's
Yeah.
been a long day, yo. Can you wrap? Can you just put in an email?
Yeah. Well, later that night, Vegard has a dream where he sees Sarah
Come
putting
up from the floorboards. This
yes.
shit is scary.
Uh-huh.
Like not like jump out and scare you scary, but like I think we all we kind of knew it was a dream, but we know that because we don't understand how these zombies work yet, Jeffrey. We
Mm-hmm.
don't like the rules are not quite as laid out as they are in other films.
Mm-hmm.
But we see somebody come up from the floorboards, and that is fucking scary. But he's like, Sarah, Sarah, and he follows her, and she's gone.
And then he follows her outside, looks around, and then we get a good jump scare of when he turns back. Suddenly, there she is,
Yeah.
dribbling blood out of her mouth and eyes. And he realizes it's all a dream, but also based off of what this guy said, and also the fact that she's not here by now.
Yeah. I
So
got
that
a
next
bad
day,
premonition.
he's gonna go look for her that next day. But that same night, our sudden man has now gone to just camp in a tent. Like, what is this man's story?
He just can't. He's just camping on a glacier.
I guess.
He's a real man, tough man. Which, listen, he's a
Uh-huh.
countryman.
Sure.
He talks to people that he wants to talk to, but those conversations will go on as long as he wants, and you are just an unwilling participant in his life.
Yep. Well, he hears noises outside.
This shit's scary, yo.
It is
Yeah.
really, really scary. It's interesting because he seems as unnerved by what's happening or as not as uncertain about what's happening as we
Yeah.
are, the
Yeah.
viewers, which makes me think he's never really actually known what it means for the zombie Nazis to exist.
No,
He just
no.
knows the lore and he
Yes.
knows there's bad juju in them that are hills.
Yeah.
And then now them that are hills are coming to him.
This sequence where like he thinks he hears something, and then the tent, like essentially like a tent peg gets unloosed, and the tent just sort of like crumples across his
Uh-huh.
face. I was like,
Uh-uh.
nope,
Nope.
nope.
Absolutely not. And
No.
he goes outside and
He's got
the
his
most
gun.
he's got a
That
gun and the most focused flashlight that just lights up
yes.
a 3-foot circle and nothing else.
It's also like he doesn't even really look like. Here's the thing. Camera, like, it's so funny. Film is such a two-dimensional medium,
Uh-huh.
and everybody wants their close up. But I'm like, you better reconnoiter that edge, sir. You better
Uh-huh.
do a full 360. But on film, it's very much like flashlight, flashlight to the right and left. And they're like, oh, okay, I'm safe. I'm like,
Uh-uh.
you look behind you. There is nothing but space.
Yes. His positioning of his tent was really weird too, because it is in the most open field
Yeah.
ever.
I was like, I was like, I don't know, maybe like get up against a thing,
Uh-huh.
wind factor. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, he catches sight of a distant zombie in his flashlight, pauses for a second, but that zombie is not coming for him. It's the
That's a
zombie from the
decoy.
side.
Yep. Again, great with the like the zombies are very far away. They move so fast you can't even register them on camera. And something runs past the camera and he's just got like a slit down his throat.
Yeah.
Clue number one, the zombies are strategic, like you said.
Uh-huh.
Also, they're not just mindless brain eating, hunger machines, Romero style. Like whatever caused him to cut his throat, they can use tools.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, he stumbles into his tent and then we see silhouetted zombie attack and just blood splatter all inside this fucking thing.
This is our first. Oh my god! And like just like some zombie just like knife punching him. I was like, oh my gosh, I think he's dead.
Yeah.
Are you gonna eat that? Or are you just gonna play with your food?
How do the piggies eat?
Show me how the piggies eat. Well, I had a point. Never mind. Go on. No, carry on.
Okay. So it's the next day, and Vegard is going to go find Sarah. He says, here's the car keys. If I'm not back by tomorrow, go get the car, go get help. So he's showing some level of
Okay.
worry and
Yeah.
concern.
Yeah.
Nobody else really is, though.
No, they're here to have a good time.
Yeah, they're having
like,
a good time. They're like, it's fine. Sarah's fine. She's athletic. She'll be great.
it's also like, what else could you possibly do?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Um,
Which on like, listen, the fact that Sarah, like, okay, if my boyfriend, who is an avid camper, hiker,
uh-huh.
outdoorsman, is like, I'm gonna meet you at this very remote location up in the middle of fucking nowhere where there's no cell phone service. I'm like, I want to see a map
Yeah.
of where you're starting, where
Yep.
I want to see your trail. So if shit does fuck up, I know remote, like even an idea of the footprint path that you intended to take. And if you fall down a mountain, then we can branch out from there. But
Yeah.
Not none of this like, oh, she's just out there skiing.
Yeah, you
She's
do need
somewhere out there.
you need to document some shit. If you're going off the grid,
Yeah.
you need to document some shit.
Paper resources.
Yeah. Well, we'll follow. This is kind of like intercut through the next, act of this film, but we'll just follow Vegard for a little bit. So while everyone else is doing sled races and fun afternoon activities, Vegard is out at the he takes his snowmobile out, is looking around. He pauses for a little thermos soup and
Oh my God. This shot is gorgeous, Jeffrey.
mhm,
This is very like this is to Dead Snow is to Norway what Lord of the Rings is to New Zealand.
sure.
It's very much like, look how gorgeous our fjords are in this incidental. I mean, and it is fucking stunning. Like he has parked this snowmobile at the very top of the most beautiful looking mountain outcropping just to
Yeah.
have, a little PB&J,
Yeah.
have some like hot cocoa.
Uh-huh. Uh, Norway's gorgeous.
Oh,
Snowy
it's so
Norway,
beautiful.
just so beautiful. Though I was just thinking about countries having color palettes, right? Like even in
Yeah.
like last week in The Omen, like when they go to Jezreel, when they go to Israel, like
Buchenhagen,
yeah, to
Buchenhagen,
go see Bugenhagen, Bugenhagen,
Farfangruven.
Farfen fucking Grooven. They go see him in Israel. But
Yeah.
like the wash of the from the lush green and
Yeah.
gray sky and brown stones of
Yeah.
England to this kind of like this like almost like ivory ivory colored sands of Israel is really
Yeah.
interesting. And so seeing the color palette of the black waters of Norway is really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. So he catches an eye of this bright orange tent down in this, little valley. And he goes to check it out and he finds a gory fucking mess.
Okay. Now this is intestine cam. Number
Uh-huh.
intestine 1, 2, 3. Testing intestines 1, 2, 3, and we're gonna get 3 of them. Are there
Hmm.
3? Yeah, I think there are. But already it's like full on Jack Nicholson at the end of The Shining, like eyes frozen open, the
Uh-huh.
temple, and his like guts just sitting there in his hands, which is what he was like met when he was menacing Roy for making jokes at his expense, saying, "What did they have? Oh, you're a med student. Did you ever teach you what to do if you're holding your intestines in your
That's
hands? Huh?
right.
Huh? Is that covered in Med School 101? Well, what did you do? You just sat there and froze to death with your intestines in your hands."
Yep.
Which
He
I think is the important thing about the Harbinger in these horror movie. Like it is an important notch in the plot belt
uh-huh.
of these sort of cabin in the woods horror films, is that you have to introduce somebody that is menacing, dangerous, potential danger to our main characters who are often from the normal places in the world.
Yeah.
But then we have to understand that like it has to be a bit of a false flag that everyone's gonna be like, oh, it was that crazy dude who was like menacing us. But there has to be something that is like a shark,
Yeah.
like one evolutionary chain above, or maybe 2 or 3 evolutionary chains above.
Hmm. Well, Vegard gets the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
And in his quest to get, we presume to go back to warn
Yeah.
the others about what's happened, he falls through a
Into an ice
pit
cave.
into an ice cave. Like he slips
Fuck.
through the snow and falls into an
All
ice
right, the
cave.
descent. Here we go.
Yeah, yeah. Back at the house, Hannah has not learned any knife skills. She has not been watching any Food Network
Just like,
ever. Just hacking a carrot willy-nilly,
yeah, it's
fingers
fine.
splayed
It's
out.
gonna be stew. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
It's gonna be human blood stew
Yeah.
because she cuts her finger open and Martin we
Mark.
see demonstrably that Martin gets queasy just at the sight of a
Yeah.
finger cut.
But you know what? He's also just, I'm like, okay, you're fine. You're
Chill
all
out.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. They make fun of him. They drink some more beers, and then we find under the floorboards.
Uh-huh.
Listen, if you ever find a book under the floorboards of a cabin in the woods, don't read that book.
No,
If you find a box under the floorboards filled with stuff, don't open
don't
that
open the
box.
box. No,
Just be like, nope, I will just push it with your foot a little farther back.
no.
Now, Jeffrey, what'd you make of this Nazi gold?
I have a lot of thoughts on this Nazi gold, and I don't know if they're in the spirit of your question, but the notion that the Nazis have stolen things
Yeah.
is a pretty loaded one, right? Like,
Yeah.
they stole a lot of things
Yes, they did.
from Norwegian villagers and other
And
people.
many other people.
And so the movie kind of centers around the Nazis want this box of gold back.
Yeah.
That what they really want is not brains.
Yeah.
What they really want is their stolen shit.
Have you ever seen John Carpenter's The Fog?
I have not seen The Fog.
Okay, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a very strong link to be made to John Carpenter's The Fog. I'm
Okay.
not going to say any more because hopefully we'll get to cover it on this show because
Sure.
it's one of my fucking favorites.
Awesome.
But very similar kind of thing. And it's even in the way, like, we've kind of got the kids in the cabin and they sort of open it up and it's this beautiful like gold reflected light.
It's Pulp
in their
Fiction
faces.
briefcase looking
Yes,
when they
yes,
open it.
totally.
Yeah.
And I think they even make like a what was it, like a Raiders of the Lost Ark joke, I think.
Oh yeah. I
think
missed
it's
that.
Raiders of the, it's like Erland says, like for fame and glorious. I don't know.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's quoting a movie and it's like on the tip of my brain what movie it is, but I can't quite tell you. But here's the thing. I'm like, listen, that's kind of a small box.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, all this for this?
Yeah.
For this?
It's also like a lot of it is the value of it seems to be in the goldenness of it.
Yes.
Which,
yes.
Again, if everything in that box is pure gold,
yeah,
that box is worth a lot of money.
True.
But in my head, in thinking about zombies,
yeah,
who want their stolen treasures back, I would have preferred something more directly aesthetic, something that looks like it has a value that is not monetary.
Yeah.
Because,
something that is truly unique.
Yes. And, later we see that one of the things that Roy had taken was the pocket watch. And I'm like, okay, a pocket watch is interesting.
Yeah.
I would like to see more detail on some of the jewelry in there.
Yeah.
Because to me, I think the value to a Nazi is never going to be financial. Like, what's he gonna do? Like, he's not going to go spend this at IKEA.
No.
Like, he does not have a TD bank account.
No.
He's not.
They're just gonna sit there and just hold their hands and go, precious.
Yeah.
In their ice cave for the next 300 years.
So it seems like they would want something that doesn't have financial value, but has to them a sentimental or aesthetic value.
Yeah.
And none of this has any aesthetic value other than look at how much this might be worth.
I have a question. How do you think that gold got underneath those floorboards and away from the Nazis?
It's a great question.
I was like, okay, so your story, Harbinger, sir, and this is shrouded in lore. These Nazis stole all this shit and then ran up into the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this cabin was how did they get the gold away from the Nazis?
Yeah.
And then the Nazis up in the ice, where did that split happen?
Well, it makes me wonder if Sarah's family or whoever owned this cabin before was part of the was part of
the resistance.
They were part of the Oaksford people, and when they chased the zombies off, got some of the gold and were like, well, I'll just take this gold back and hide it away.
Just bury it. Or they knew that there was this weird power connecting the Nazis. Your souls cannot rest until you reunite it, like kind of a Pirates of the Caribbean sort of thing here.
Well, if that's the case, you need to hide that box better. You need to secure that shit.
Throwing that underneath a loose floorboard.
Might I suggest a safe with a combination?
Might I suggest like burying it in concrete?
Yeah. Okay. Well, they're all kind of grabby at this gold,
And
which
they're
is,
like I don't know, this is actually kind of cute. They're like trying like one shot, this is where it's like horror comedy. They're like, no, don't touch the Nazi gold, it's cursed.
yeah.
Next shot, they're like trying on earrings, like they're playing dress up with the Nazi gold, which I mean, come on, it's pretty fucking funny.
Well, and it's funny because in a way they don't really acknowledge that it's Nazi gold. They're more like it's
Oh,
Martin that tells them to put it all away, put it all back because it could be the Nazi gold, it could be the
yeah.
thing the traveler was telling us about, but also this is Sarah's cabin. Let's
It's
just
not
wait
our
till Sarah
stuff.
gets here before
Yeah.
we ask her. This does not belong to us in any form or fashion.
There's such an interesting thing about beach houses, cabins in the wood, lake houses that are sort of these like multiple family use or like sometimes family use. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if you get to a beach house, you might know the person who owns it. You might be friends with the person who has an aunt but there's like always a couple of degrees of separation that it is almost more of a template
Mm-hmm.
rather than a place.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of go and you're like, yeah, as long as we clean up afterwards, Airbnb rules, take out the trash, don't like
Yeah.
light anything on fire. There's a bit of like, well, they left it behind, so it can't be that valuable.
Yeah. The thing about the gold here is this movie confused me a little bit, and it's easy to let it go and not worry about it for just enjoying the horror film at hand. But there's a weird dis lack of continuity for me in processing why the zombies attack who they attack.
Yeah.
Because from this point on, it seems to be suggesting that when the gold makes its way into
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
air, when it becomes visible to the
Yeah.
sky, that attracts the Nazis to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that they are only interested in killing people who are taking their gold.
Yes.
Because that's one of the ways in which Martin gets away at the end is by saying, I don't have any more of your gold.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But then he
Oops.
unknowingly has a piece of gold
Oops.
because in this scene we were just talking about, Sarah takes a single gold coin and slips it into Martin's pocket, meaning like, well, he doesn't have to know. I'll be like, oh, oops, honey, I took this,
Oh no.
later.
Yeah, just slide it into your backpack. It's which is also such an interesting thing. Like zombies that are motivated by greed or avarice is
Mhm.
such a unique
Yeah,
twist and very non-traditional zombie behavior. Normally zombies are carnal. They're just hungry.
yeah. But that notion doesn't even actually jive with the fact of why and how they killed the traveler, the
Yeah.
harbinger,
Yeah.
or why they
Did they
killed
just kill him
Sarah.
just for funsies?
Yeah, or why they killed Sarah at the
Yeah.
beginning. Well, Erlin, okay. Erlin goes to Erlin goes to take a shit.
Okay. This scene, what? Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jeffrey. You just take this because
Okay.
this is the moment where I was like, I'm so on board for this movie, but you almost lost me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let me set the scene for what is working here. Erland is being, drunk and funny and whatever else
Yeah.
playing games.
Must take a
Chris,
poop. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and Chris is definitely like Chris is horned up and she
Yeah.
has taken a liking to Erland and
Yeah.
Erland goes so in a normal house party situation, Erland's like, I'm gonna go upstairs to the restroom.
Yeah.
Go upstairs to the restroom. She would go upstairs and like
7 minutes later. Yeah.
well, yeah, and like pop out and just be like, act like she's waiting in line, start up a conversation. Then they could make out, slip into a bedroom,
Yeah.
do their fucking, and then be like, you go back downstairs. I'll use the restroom
Yeah.
now.
Give me 5 minutes and then,
Yeah.
yeah. And no
And
one will ever
so
know.
no one will ever, they will all know. And
Yeah.
everyone will
Yes, they
give you
will.
eyes when you come back. But that's how the house party
Yes. Hookup
hookup
works. Yeah.
hookup works. What happens here is Erling goes out to the outhouse, drops trow, sits and squats to take a shit, is wiping his ass as Chris comes in there and mounts him on the fucking outhouse commode.
His pants are already down.
It
I,
is. practical and convenient.
Now, this point, I was like, okay, one, the smell. Two, it's very cold outside. What is
Yeah.
going on here?
Why are you taking off
Three,
your clothes, lady?
why is she taking off her clothes? I mean, this is, come on, what? And four, this is what got me. Literally, with the same hand he wiped his shitty ass with,
Uh,
she then takes that and does the like sexy blowjob finger thing. I was like, no, no, no,
no,
no, no. Whoa, 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 whoa. We need some hand sanitizer up in here.
I
What?
just, they had to have been deliberately being funny, gross out funny with this scene.
Yeah,
But my thought is, if you're going to do this, go all the way.
yeah. Like it's got to be like American Pie.
Yes. And also, one of the long-standing traditions of these types of movies is titties in the woods,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Once
And
you
I'm
show
not
your tits,
saying I need
you're
to see
doomed for
this
death.
woman's tits. What I'm saying is it doesn't make any sense for a woman to strip down outside in,
No.
0-degree weather. But if you're going to do that for the effect of the
Yeah.
joke or the trope, have her strip all the way down because she just gets down to her bra. And I'm like, well, what was the point of any of this? Like,
Yes. I
either
don't.
be
It's
fully exploitative or don't,
very
but you're pulling your punches.
It's very
It's
strange.
I would say stupid. But
A bit
yes.
stupid. It was a bit dumb. I was like,
Yes.
also don't put that hand. No, don't.
Uh-uh.
No, 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 no.
No.
But they have a very quick fuck session, which again, I was like, oh, okay, wow,
Okay.
this is like 5 minutes of outhouse sub-zero sex. Is it? You really got to get it in that? Okay, sure. Why not?
Okay,
We've all been there,
sure.
I guess. Um,
This is
he
the
goes
thing of
back
being in your
inside.
20s where you're just like, sex is sex, doesn't matter where.
Yes, yes. But that leaves
Okay.
her out in the outhouse.
And so she's got to do her pooping,
Does
but
she?
I
What?
guess, I don't know.
I
She's
don't
still
know.
out there
Yeah.
and for a bit.
And the
Okay,
Nazis hear the Jeffrey,
is that you?
Jeffrey,
Stop doing that, Cecil.
stop
Cecil, are
playing
you making that
games.
noise?
Is that you? Even though you can see through the slats that that is a crusty ass motherfucking zombie. That is not your friend. You know what your friends look like.
Yeah.
That is not your friend. That person is gray and wearing a like fucking military helmet.
Yeah.
You can see that.
Yes.
I would be screaming. I would be screaming from minute. I'd be like, if I saw anything walk past that was not at the height of a deer,
Yeah.
like if it's like low to the ground. Okay, oh, there's a fucking badger going. Okay, fine. I'm cool with animals, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's a bear, because then you're in an outhouse. The bear doesn't care.
Yeah.
But if it is a humanoid that is not one of your friends, make as much noise.
Yeah. Well, she plays with the Erlen. Stop that. Are you playing around? Stop playing around. And then she gets yanked down into the outhouse pit. So now here's where we go for full gross out is
Yeah,
she falls into the outhouse pit, climbs out. Her belly is bleeding. She's been cut open at the belly and
that's how
she's
you get.
covered in shit.
That's how you get dysentery, man.
Oh, she's even if that zombie leaves her alone, like sepsis is setting
Yeah,
in
yeah.
like half
Sepsis
an
is.
hour.
Did you ever see the movie version of Les Mis?
I have watched it and fallen asleep to it like 3 or 4 times
Okay,
now.
so you probably haven't gotten to the end where like the main guy like gets stabbed or shot or something
Hmm.
and then has to like crawl through the Parisian sewers.
Mm,
I was like, this just has antiseptic been invented yet? This does
no,
not look savory.
no. You're gonna have to clean that shit with gin.
Yeah,
So they she starts screaming at this point, but they've all got the music turned up so loud.
those kids and their rock and roll musics.
And they finally think they hear her scream, turn down the music, and they go open the door. But right before they open the door, the zombies snatch Chris away and she's gone. So they don't actually
Yeah,
see her
yeah.
outside.
So now she's just missing.
Now she's just missing. And Hannah, to her credit, is,
She's on it.
yeah,
Like she is at the appropriate level of threat danger.
yes. Um, Yeah, the Hannah is like, let's we need to there's something wrong here.
Yeah, yeah.
And they find a shotgun above the door. We never
Which
see
they
them find shells.
which I was gonna say, which they do not check to see if there's shells inside, if it
No.
works. No, which is
No. And there's
okay.
a good I am gonna say with great confidence that none of these fuck knuckles have ever fired a gun before.
Yeah.
Uh Vegard is probably the only one.
Oh yeah,
He's
yeah.
not
Vagard
there.
with his military. Yeah,
Yep.
but you got to check that shit.
Yeah. So yeah, they go out looking for her, and Hannah is inside at the kitchen sink, and the zombie waves Chris's severed head in front of the window at her.
I was so confused by this. I was like, is that Sarah?
That's
No,
what I thought
but
too.
we're gonna find Sarah's severed head
Yeah.
later. But it was this moment of like severed head in the window,
Keep going. I'm sorry. I'm just leaning over
s-
here.
severed head in the window, which was sort of puppeted by a hand, which makes which is like, are you doing a little Nazi zombie puppet show? Is this like a fear tactic
Yeah.
kind of thing? But like moves like this exist in horror movies and they happen very quickly because we want to see them because look at that cool severed icy head. That's awesome. Somebody made that. Good
Yeah.
job. But when you step back and you're like, logistically, what is that Nazi zombie doing?
Yeah.
Just like standing there waiting to be like, okay, guys, okay, here's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
This is gonna get them real good.
Yeah.
We're just gonna like make them think their friend is up, but not silly. It's
It
just a bit of tomfoolery.
yeah, it just nothing there's so many moments in this movie that don't land, and I kind of wonder, maybe my question earlier when I said why zombies or why Nazis, maybe the better question is why zombies,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah.
I sort of think, what if the Nazis all froze to death and then are reawakened but aren't in zombie form? They
More
just
like,
like
yeah, yeah,
we just suspend our disbelief and they were frozen, like, unfrozen caveman lawyer. Like they
yeah,
just came back in the exact form that they
yep,
are, like fucking frogs in ponds or whatever. Like,
yeah.
tadpoles just freeze in a pond, and then when spring rolls around, they're like, well, I'm just gonna pick up where I left off.
Cold blooded.
And then that way, if they looked like humans, I think we would have a better sense of this type of play. I want
Yeah,
to, because there's a Freddy Krueger smartness to a scene like this.
yeah, yeah,
There's a I'm playing with my food,
yeah,
because part of what I want, just like Freddy Krueger, is I want you to be scared. I
yeah,
am punishing you. This is a vengeance tour here for making us Nazis feel bad and
yeah.
unwelcome. You created an unsafe space for us Nazis, and we are upset about that.
We just want to use your fjords to like house our battleships.
That's
Come on,
right.
that's all.
But Liv goes over to see what Hannah just saw in the window. Nothing is there, but then suddenly hand crashes through and starts to pull her through the window by her hair. Um,
This one, I'm all on board with. They just
yes.
take a butcher knife, chop the hair.
Yep.
I was like, good for you. Good for
Yep.
you for making that sacrifice. Your hair's
Uh,
going to look a little funky for a while, but it'll
totally.
grow out.
Not the least of your problems.
Yeah.
The grenade is going to do more damage to your hair than I just did.
Yes.
So,
Yes, that's true.
um, yeah. So Liv and Hannah are both pretty resourceful. Like they really do. Hannah very much has final girl vibe,
Yeah.
even though she's
Oh, yeah.
technically not the final girl here, but she's got real final girl vibe to her though. Um, yeah, they realize they're getting surrounded. The Nazis are like shaking the cabin walls. They're trying to put up furniture. They finally realize what's happening when they cut off a Nazi's hand and they see the ring with the little SS
Yes.
symbol on it. And Erland gets grabbed from behind through a window, Cecil.
Yeah.
Continue. How does
He,
Erland meet his end?
it's classic. It's just the
Uh-huh.
usual stuff.
Yep.
You're out, you're walking around, multiple hands pull you halfway out of a window
Mm-hmm.
each of them grabs like a quarter of your head and just rips your skull apart.
Mm-hmm. This is like a spa castle in Queens used to do.
That's
Like
it. That's it.
yeah.
What I was thinking, the Russian baths. This is how you get a massage in a Turkish bath. They just rip your skull apart,
Hmm.
dropping your completely full brain on the floor, which I think was kind of a nice, funny touch.
Yes.
That it's like these zombies are not Romero zombies. These zombies are not they're not like Return of the Living Dead, brain hungry. The pain of existence, only brains can. They don't give a fuck about your brains. They
No.
are killing machines. That's what
Yes.
they do. That's what they are reanimated for.
Yes.
But oh
And
yeah, oh yes, big showy death. Big showy death.
big showy death. This was great. This was a really, I mean, like they went all in on this
Yeah.
death. It looked really good.
Yeah.
And I want to compliment two amazing things about this movie is that the use of this is the type of practical effect mixed with I think some, you know, post-production
Some like
modification and
CGI
like
splatter. Yeah.
yeah, that I think works really really well. Like I think they found a really nice balance because um it's not as craft project looking as 70s and 80s gloopy gloppy
Yes. Yeah,
horror.
yeah, 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 yeah.
It's a lot more, I wouldn't say realistic, but it looks more in the scene here. Like it
Yeah.
does look more realistic in the context of the movie. Two, with the exception of scenes where it's important that they're in the dark, this movie is not dark. We just
Yeah.
was
It's
was
kind of
thinking
day
about
scare.
like
It's got quite a bit of day scare.
and I'm just thinking about like 21st century movie making where everything is fucking dark all
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
goddamn
yeah, yeah.
time and you can't actually see. And I'm like, I don't think you meant for it to be this dark.
Yeah.
This movie is very bright.
Yeah.
It's really it's I really appreciate that about it. I just wanted to say that. But yeah, he gets torn apart and Roy again, it cannot help its off color comedic beats because Roy, after seeing his friend's head get split open by zombie hands,
Uh-huh.
says we should have gone to the beach like I told you.
Yes. Oh,
Oh,
Roy.
Roy, always with the quip.
Always with the jokes.
I hope you have one ready for when I die, Cecil, please.
And it will be, I'm getting too old for this shit.
Okay, so let's catch up with Vegard, who wakes up at the bottom of the cave, looks around with he makes a torch.
Hey, at
He
least he's all like, yeah, he's no broken bones.
no,
No hypothermia is not set in.
no.
He's doing okay.
He finds that he is definitely in a Nazi cave.
Yep.
There is a Nazi flag up on the ceiling of the cave. There is oh look, there's a Nazi helmet, Nazi helmet, Nazi helmet, severed head. Ah!
That's my favorite version, a variation of Duck Duck Goose.
Yeah.
Nazi
Nazi
helmet,
helmet,
Nazi
Nazi
helmet,
helmet,
Nazi
Nazi.
helmet, severed head. And then
Ah!
everyone just is already dead, so you don't do anything. You just look at the severed head.
I don't know what is more disturbing at this moment because this is Sarah's severed head. Is that if you found the severed head of your
Yeah.
loved one, just finding the severed head, just say that
Just
you
finding
find the
a
severed
severed
head,
head.
a severed head, but the severed head of your loved one
Yeah.
is really obviously very
Yeah.
upsetting, but also she is making the funniest face. Like she's got
Yeah.
one eye open and her tongue hanging out. She looks like
Yeah.
Bill the cat.
Yeah. I
It's a
mean,
very weird face that she's
it's
making.
it's I think it's supposed to be almost unrecognizable
Yes.
in its death throes,
Yeah.
which it's pretty gross.
Is pretty gross.
However, in that exact moment, there's a noise behind you. Those sneaky Nazi zombies,
Uh-huh.
they just be roaming around all super quiet until it's time to reveal themselves.
Yep. He yeah, he turns around and brains the zombie with his torch and then goes running out of the cave through the side of the mountain. We had set up that he had already figured out a way out of this cave
Yes.
and came back in to explore it. Uh yeah, so we get some fun zombie fight sequences, right? He is fighting back. The zombie has him pinned down. He manages
Yeah.
to fight the knife out of his hand, do all this other stuff. And then when the zombie leans to bite him, he bites the zombie, which
I
I think is
know.
hilarious.
I know, because it like you're not quite sure what's you're like, oh no, he's been bit. Oh no, he just bit that dude's cheek off.
Uh-huh. And then brains that zombie with his own helmet.
Yes.
And then he kills another zombie by throwing a bayonet into its eye.
Yeah.
And then he uses that zombie's intestines as a rappelling line to go down
Uh-huh.
the edge of the cliff where he fights the other zombie.
That's actually my second favorite game is Duck Duck Intestines. Duck, 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 intestines. And then you pull out that person's intestines and then you just wrap everybody in the circle around them.
So then this is in this fight, he manages to kill the zombie hanging onto him off the side of the cliff,
This
but
is crazy.
he does get bit. So
Yes.
there is a zombie, we've already, as you pointed out, I think a great point, when Erlin's head gets ripped open, his brain hits the floor and the zombies do nothing about it.
Yeah.
We're saying this trope, not part
Out.
of this zombie lore. The zombies getting bit, the zombies biting you, I think also this movie is saying doesn't matter. You
Yes.
can't catch zombie.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
are zombies because they're vengeful Nazis.
Yeah. Hungry ghosts, almost more hungry ghosts than they
Yeah.
are zombies in
Yeah.
that way.
So the worry you have for Vagard here is sort of like the movie is going to tell you, he's not going to turn into a zombie. I mean,
Yeah.
but
And
it
by the
leaves
time,
you wondering for a while, because
yeah.
I was waiting for when Vagard, he later gets a machine gun, and I'm like, oh shit, when's he going to turn that on his
Yeah.
friends?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we've got Hannah.
Meanwhile, back at the cabin.
Meanwhile, back at the cabin, Hannah and Liv, along with Roy and Martin, it's morning. They've got to do something.
Yeah.
They've been awake all night, and they're like, we cannot just sit here. So the plan is Hannah and Liv are going to go to the car and try and find the car and go get help. Roy and Martin have got to go outside and run interference to distract any zombies from them.
Yeah. Again, you don't know where your car is.
This made me so crazy. This plan is so stupid. Also, no, I take it back. Their plan is not to go to the car. Their plan is to run down to the fjords at the bottom of the mountain.
Yeah.
To get
so
help,
even better, go to a place you've never been, in
where
a
we
direction
think there are people.
Just head down the hill.
That's so dumb. It's so dumb that they do not know where the fucking car is.
I was like, you need to stay put until Vagard gets back.
Uh-huh.
And then you all go en masse.
Uh-huh.
To the fucking car and drive home.
Yeah. Or just plan ahead, like document your shit. Like I don't even like, I don't remember who I was talking to recently about this, but I was talking about, like, if somebody is like, hey, do you want to go to a party with me this Friday night? I'm going to go to this friend's house. I'd be like, sure. What time should I meet you there? Oh, no, I'll just pick you up. No, absolutely not. Because if you pick me up, I am.
Oh, that party is in Bensonhurst. And you're like,
and I am beholden to you to get me home.
Yeah.
And if you are still around at 1 a.m. being like, isn't this fun? I'm like, no, I should have brought my Kindle.
Yeah.
And same thing, if I go to this cabin, I would like to know where the car keys are at all times.
Yeah.
I will have driven my own car there, 1. And 2, I will absolutely have a map of how to get between car and cabin.
I'd be the person, like, tying little things on trees.
Yeah.
Path leads back to your car. Not hard. Not hard. But a little tree blaze. Come on. I mean, it all makes sense in the, just follow the path of the snowmobile. It'll be great.
Yeah. No.
I want to know how to get in and how to get out of any situation.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of a meandering bit of a scene because 1, their plan is screwy. Go to the fjords first and then go to the car. 2, Roy and Martin's distraction is just like banging pots and pans. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like this, none of this makes any sense because
there's no zombies around. If you don't see them. you
Like,
know, it's not like the horde of zombies are outside their door and they need, you know, kind of Day of the Dead style or Day of the Dead, where they have to like get the hordes to move over here so they can then drive the truck up to, you know, to the same spot.
yeah.
They're just sort of yelling into the void right now.
It doesn't make any sense because like you don't know where the zombies are, so all four of you should go together to the
Yeah.
car. The
Yeah.
end. Um. Anyways, Hannah and Liv then get lost trying to
Of
get to the
course.
fjords, and then they're like, "Well, let's just try and find the car."
Well, let's split up. No, don't
Yeah,
split
this
up.
this argument about splitting up is such a time waste.
Yeah. And then immediately once they're like, no, no, no. And like Hannah has to like slap her to like calm her down. And then she's like, okay, fine, we're not going to split up. Literally, next scene, they have split up.
Yeah. It's very confusing. It's fine. We get into it's just right after this argument about splitting up,
Yeah.
zombie shows up which forces them to
To
split
split
up.
up. Yeah.
And Hannah manages to kill one and stomp its head into the ground.
Yep.
Liv, okay, so now we do this with this Liv scene is so it's such a weird curveball because suddenly we go into a point of view camera
Yeah.
for
Yeah. Yeah.
Liv and she's running and then she gets punched point
Yeah.
of
She
view
gets like cold
style,
cocked by a
cold
zombie.
cocked. Yeah. And then wakes up bleary
On the
eyed to
ground. Yeah.
watch them digging guts out of them. This reminded me of Don't
Duck,
Hug
duck,
Me, I'm
intestine.
Scared. This reminded me of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. There's
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, the food episode where he's like the duck character is like watching them dig his guts out or whatever Yellow is, whoever. Anyways. But she also, maybe I was missed this because I was looking down to type. She manages to find a World War II era hand grenade.
Oh, he's got it on his belt.
That's what happens. So she pulls it off
Yeah.
of
So
him.
like
Okay.
what? So she has like enough consciousness and presence of mind to be like, oh, there's my guts. Also, my hand is right next to a landmine. Again,
Yeah.
the useful death. If I'm gonna go, I'm taking you, motherfucker, with me.
Yeah.
Which classic zombie trope.
Yep. And then in the distance, there's an explode. You know, we go cut back to Hannah, and in the
Yeah.
distance, there's an
Which
explosion.
also, like, they're not terribly far away, and sound carries
Yes.
over very long distances in nature.
Yes.
You know, and I think especially
In cold, dense
in
air as well.
cold, dense
Yeah.
air where there's no tree, you know, like there's no leaves on trees to stop that shit.
Yeah.
I was like, you could absolutely have just found her, but okay, you know what? There's zombies about, so we're gonna let it
Yeah.
slide. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. Yeah, it's interesting. There's only two instances we get zombie cam in this. At
Yeah.
one
And I
point, we
thought
kind of
that
get
was
that. That was the
weird.
point I was gonna make back at the tent where the Harbinger dies. That's our kind of like only once or twice do we get zombie cam. And I like zombie cam.
I do
I
too.
wish zombie cam, akin to killer cam from the Italian giallos, had been a little bit more utilized of the like the stalking aspect, because stalking somebody in that way usually means that there's, like you said, there's a cat and mouse. There's a like, you're not just a mindless killing machine. It's a like, if I wait here and hide, I can, you know. So
Yeah.
I kind of wish that there had been a little bit more zombie cam.
I went to Gino's Pizza down the street from me the other day, and I just ordered a slice of pepperoni pizza. And as I was eating the pepperoni pizza, I took a bite and was like, whoa, what is that? And I realized there's a black olive mixed in that I just didn't see on the
Okay.
pizza. I did not order a pizza with black olives. I like black olives. I'm fine with a black olive on a pizza, just fine with it. But it caught me so off guard because it just slipped in there. I didn't know it was part of the pizza flavor profile that
Did
I
you
had
think you were having
ordered.
a stroke or something? You're like,
Yeah, and
why
it
am
just
I
took me
tasting pennies? You know?
yeah, and the zombie cam, love a zombie cam.
Yeah.
But in this movie, it's so inconsistently used that it
Yeah.
is like the stray black olive. When it
Yeah.
happens, I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay, you're doing
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I do like Hannah's plan to climb up a tree as the
Yes.
zombies pass below her. But this
Oh,
is a really
this-
funny scene with the nest eggs.
yes.
And this fucking crow comes at her and she's like, "You shut the fuck up." And she brains that crow.
Yes, yes, she does. And it makes very comedic, funny kind of like it's making dying, splatting noises. Oh my God. And of course, it's, the comedy is she's making more noise. If she had just chilled the fuck out,
Yes.
the zombies would have walked past, but she has to be like shush to a crow, which is, kind of silly. It's
Yes.
very silly. But sure enough, the zombies are like, uh-oh, gotcha.
So one starts climbing the tree after her. She lets it get about halfway up. She tears off a branch and then just pile
It's,
drives the other zombie
listen,
below. Great
use the
plan.
force of gravity to your advantage.
Yep. Um, the other zombie chases after her and she makes it all the way to this ledge, this ice
Yeah.
ledge on a cliff, and she starts doing stomp. She
Yeah.
starts
That's it.
pounding it with her foot, and the whole
Just
thing breaks off, sending her and the zombie tumbling down.
just like 80, like New York City and the East Village in the 80s.
Yep.
Pretty classic story.
We'll see her in a bit buried under the snow.
Yeah.
I think there are a couple things that to me didn't quite pay off. Like, so we know from the opening dialogue in the car, they're talking about avalanches, and it's
Yeah.
people who had been in avalanches had dug themselves deeper because they didn't know up from down.
Yeah. They get tumbled around and they're encased in snow, so they don't know which way is up
Yes. And
or
Vagard
out.
says you learn in the military, spit and look at which way the spit falls.
Yeah.
If the spit goes to your side, that's down.
Dig the
Um,
opposite way. Yeah.
dig the opposite way that the spit goes. So, um, this is a scene where I like the camera
The
twist when she's
camera's
buried
really
in
cool.
snow
And
because
it's like her face is very tucked in the far right corner.
and she's also got like snot trail hanging, which,
Very Blair Witch Project.
yeah, but also the snot trail is at an angle.
Yeah.
So it lets you know this is the
She's been
direction.
tumbled. And it's also very claustrophobic. Like she's in
Yes.
literally just her face is in a little tiny portion of the screen.
Yes.
I don't know.
I
Very
liked all that.
effective.
I just wanted a little bit more of that. I wanted a little bit more of the sense of claustrophobia. She gets
Yeah.
because when she pops out, she does not have to dig. She just extends her arm and she is in 1 inch of snow, Cecil.
I guess the fact we just didn't see her with the digging process is
Oh,
what I
really?
imagine.
Okay.
Like we
Okay.
just skipped to we just jumped to the
Okay.
immersion,
Because once she
emerging.
emerges, I'm like, you are in 1 inch of snow, my friend.
You just made a snow angel
Yes.
and you're now confused. But sure enough, that zombie that tumbled down with her is kind of like buried up to his head,
Uh-huh.
immobile, and she just like soccer ball kicks that
She
zombie
kicks it
head.
like a PK. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Just boot. Okay, so let's cut back to Martin and Roy, comedically incompetent. Roy makes a
This fucking
Molotov cocktail, which he tries to throw out the window at the zombies, but misses and hits inside the wall, setting the whole cabin ablaze.
okay, dumb,
Even
but
dumber
understandable.
is
Then the cell phone
Martin's
comes out.
choice.
Oh my god.
He's got a cell phone that it's funny because they make a shot at Nokia here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But he's got like an old school Nokia cell
Yeah.
phone that like a little tiny pre-flip phone sort of thing, and he gets through to Norwegian 911
Yeah.
and then tells them there's a zombie outbreak and they hang up on him.
There's Nazi zombies. Our cabin is on fire. And he's like, why did you say that? Now, here's the thing, Jeffrey. They have been inside that cabin,
Uh-huh.
attacked by zombies for over 14 hours because the
Uh-huh.
attack started. You just now remembering you have a cell phone? That would have been, I would have called that cell phone the minute Sarah didn't arrive on time.
Yes. Yes.
Like, even before Vagard is like, I got a one-man, army of one this shit and go find my girlfriend somewhere in the hundreds of thousands of acres of Norwegian wood there are.
Uh-huh.
Nuh-uh. Pull that Nokia up, be like, no, we're going back to the cars.
Yeah.
Like, we're going back to the cars. We're calling, not the Coast Guard, the fucking, I don't know, the like mountain rescue.
Yeah.
There's a person
The
missing.
Canadian Mounties.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're calling the Mounties.
Uh-huh.
Send the Saint Bernard with the little cask of
Oh, yeah.
brandy around his neck.
Yeah.
But this now a cell phone. Now I was like, okay, this was the other one. I was like, okay, comedy,
Yeah.
straight people comedy is so odd to me
I
sometimes.
know. It's yeah, it was sort of it got to me, and then he tries to call back and then the phone dies. And my thought was, did none of you plug in your phones? I know there's no cell phone, and I know this is pre-iPhone. Like
Well,
in
I'm assuming there's no
2009, very few people have
oh
a
no, there is
smart.
electricity. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
definitely electricity
very
in the
few
cabin.
people in 2009 have smartphones with screens you can play
No,
games, but
yeah, no,
you at least when you got to a place, if you were staying at
yeah,
a hotel or at a
yeah.
cab, you would plug your phone in so that it is charged for when you can use it again.
I also think like in that era of cell phones, the cell phone was it was more of a like safety tool than it was a communication. Like it was
Yeah.
much more. This is for business purposes. So, like only if you were a doctor or a drug dealer or had emergency, like it was an emergency thing. It'd be like make sure the phone's plugged in.
Yeah.
Not because I want to like make a TikTok, but because this is our only lifeline if shit goes tits up.
It was for yeah, emergencies or like, by this point you could be like I use it for my long distance calls.
Yeah. Maybe
I
play a
I can
game of
call
Snake.
I could
Maybe
yeah, I
play
can
a little
call
game of
ahead to a
Snake on there.
restaurant to see if they're open today,
Yes.
stuff like that. But the idea that you would be so interconnected because we weren't using our phones for text yet
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
email
Yeah.
especially. And so the idea that you were always connected to everyone else at every second
Yeah.
didn't really exist yet.
No.
But you did plug in your fucking phones.
Yes.
Anyways,
But I was like, this comedy beat, okay. Oh,
okay.
I guess sure, why not?
They make a
Luckily, it doesn't last long.
Yeah, they make a break for the shed where they arm up with garden tools. Nice full circle thing to the original lore of how the
Yes.
zombies got chased out.
Also, a very clear homage to Evil Dead,
Hmm.
which they mention by name, Evil Dead 1 and 2, kind of making the joke like, oh, some horror movie nerds say that 2 is just a remake with it. And they're like, yeah, well, it is. Um,
Yes.
and they literally do kind of the Sam Raimi, like, tight shot, grabbing a tool from a bench, tight
Uh-huh.
shot, grabbing this, starting up the chainsaw and the staccato, like,
Yes.
pretty iconoclastic, let's gear up,
Uh-huh.
groovy.
So, uh, we cut to a shot of Vegard. We cut over to Vegard real quick. So we've got, Hannah is off on her thing, Vegard's off on
Yeah,
his thing, and then the two boys, Roy and Martin, getting armed up.
yeah,
So Vegard and the boys are about to meet up. Vegard
yeah.
is stitching his bite wound with
Oh my
actual needle and thread, and then he just duct tapes all of it.
squirt. There's a lot of squirting going on in
Hmm.
this film. They really went for the artery squirt,
They really did.
which I feel like we got maybe a little gloopy gloppy when we rolled gloopy gloppy. We got deprived and Pumpkinhead, but I think Dead Snow more than made up for it a
Hmm.
few weeks later. So
Yeah, when you
it,
average them together,
the dice all evens out. I think
it
that's the
does.
lesson we're learning for this podcast.
Yep. So, uh,
Let's
he,
kill some
he,
Nazis.
yeah, he also manages to find a machine gun
Yeah.
in their stuff, and
Right
he mounts it
on
to
it.
his snowmobile.
Great.
I'm sort of surprised. Well, I'm not. I guess I'm not surprised that the zombies aren't using their machine guns on people because they're in Freddy Krueger. They're in their Freddy Krueger
Yeah.
era. They want to
They're
torture people
stalking.
first. Yeah.
Yeah. This is also now we have an important character that this is kind of this sort of head, the Herzog.
Yes.
There is definitely a head zombie, and we've
Yes.
mentioned him by name, like the old man story. There's this, nefarious leader, but this is kind of where we see that there's a captain, and he doesn't speak, but everybody's sort of zombie Nazi psychically linked.
Yeah. And he. I always love a good sense of when the leader of especially in a military type of
Yeah,
environment. I love. I love the costuming
yeah,
for scenes like this when you, without saying a word,
yep.
you clearly know who the boss is.
Costume, makeup. His makeup
Yes.
is definitely more like he's got like his teeth are kind of chewed off or frozen off, so his teeth or his lips are frozen off, so his teeth are always exposed.
Oh man, he's
He,
got them
his
caps. He's got them
yeah,
veneers.
I
Yeah,
know he got those good
he
veneers,
did.
the black ones.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, absolutely. To your point, like immediately what's going. It's also like that's one of the first things you learn when you go to theater school, directing, acting, is how to play, um, how to do a status difference.
Hmm.
Like like playing low status, playing high status, it doesn't matter as long as everybody's in on the game. It's a really effective tool. And you don't need a lot of dialogue, in this case, no dialogue. And you're like, oh, that's the big boss. Okay.
Yeah,
And we've got this cool shot of like a line of, because I was at this point, I was like, what? There's like five, there's got to be like 5 or 6 zombies. Oh,
yeah,
he's got a team of like 12.
yeah,
And he does that thing where he nods his head and then like everybody scatters.
yeah, yeah.
Love it. Love it.
So good. Well, Martin and Roy are going to meet this handful of, half a dozen zombies head on with, it's just so much splatter with
Yeah.
chainsaws and
Like
sledgehammers. And
one, like I don't like one tap of a
uh
of a hammer or a saw, and like it's like limbs go flying,
yeah,
heads literally making popping noises as they
yeah,
come off, like you're in a fucking Studio Ghibli film.
yes,
Like boop.
yes.
I was like, oh my god, that's a fucking head. What is this? Princess Mononoke? What's happening right now?
There's a funny moment where Roy, right before he kills a Nazi, he's got the farm equipment, and in one hand is a sickle and the other hand is a hammer, and he crosses them in the
Oh
Nazi's face,
shit.
and the Nazi looks scared. It is a very
Oh
funny bit,
shit.
and then he lops his head off. Funny World War II joke.
Uh-oh. And then more Nazis show up, but that's when Vagard shows up and they kind of get, duck, and they just takes him out with a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately,
Uh-huh.
like one of the most powerful weapons that they have is that snowmobile,
Yes.
which Vagard makes. He kills, like, listen, if you've seen Fargo, like
Yep. He
you
wood
thought
chips
the
those
you thought the
motherfuckers.
wood chipper was bad. This snowmobile is just as bad. Vagard takes out 2, 3 zombies with the snowmobile alone.
Yes.
Here's my thing, Jeffrey. It doesn't crash. It didn't, like, they just sort of forgot about it. And
This
this is
scene, yeah.
horror movie thing in which it's like horror movies are so like this leads to this, this leads to this.
Yes.
So, we plant little seeds and we go, oh, the spit, and oh, we're supposed to, oh, that came back. But sometimes in these big action sequences, the running, like a lot of this, I'm like, what about that thing right there? You mean that vehicle
Yeah.
that is 3 times faster than any Nazi zombie?
Yes.
You're not going to pile onto that has a gun attached to it?
Yes.
You're just
Be-
going to walk away from that?
this is why I used the intro about baking of being a little bit like new at the baking thing and wanting to follow the recipe exactly. Like when
Yes.
you're like, just chop up some rosemary and throw it in, I'm like, no, no, no. The recipe doesn't say to
You're
do
like
that.
a teaspoon, a
But
tablespoon, a cup? I don't
but
know.
but you but just like with I've baked buttermilk biscuits a million times. I'm incredible at buttermilk
Yeah.
biscuits, and I do not need a recipe, and I know how
You're
to
going by
look.
instinct.
I
Yeah.
know how it should feel.
Yeah.
And so you put me in Denver, you put
Yeah.
me in Florida, I will know what it
Sea
should feel
level,
and
high
look like.
elevation. You're like,
Totally.
oh, this doesn't feel right. I just do a little zhuzh of this. Oh, now it feels
I
sweet
could
spot.
trick it up, add some we could add some cheddar to it. Who
Oh,
even
yes,
knows?
please. Oh, I'm a
Whatever.
sucker for a cheddar biscuit.
So but in this movie is so by the book of this happens and this happens and this happens. And one of the ways you can elevate your writing game is to make the characters smarter.
Yeah.
When you make the characters smarter, it makes the story harder, but it also increases the stakes. It
Yeah.
increases the action. And so by them, if they were smart enough to not get into just a boring ass conversation about, hey, what's been going on? Haven't seen you. What's been happening?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, which is what gets Vagrant killed. If they had just all said, we'll catch up later, get on the snowmobile, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
But they don't do. Then you can create a situation for the Nazis could say spring a trap that crashes their
Yes.
snowmobile. You could do some more things.
Make
Maybe
your
you don't. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Elevate your protagonists, but then equally elevate your antagonists. So that way
Totally.
it's a bit more of a more interesting fight.
But I'm
without
just,
being, yeah,
yeah, I'm just spending time being like, why? Get on the fucking snowmobile or stop talking to each other.
yeah,
And then I think the worst moment of this movie is when they get into one more big fight, Martin and Roy, after Vagard
yeah.
gets ripped into quarters.
Oh
Um,
yes, he gets like stabbed.
he
Well,
gets
he gets,
stabbed.
yeah,
The
and
stabbing, the
then
choreography of the stabbing is great.
I
The,
was like, this is like a college production of Julius Caesar,
yes, totally. But Martin
fully
is going,
quartered, which
yeah,
amazing set piece, like amazing bit of action there, completely unnecessary.
totally unnecessary, but fun or whatever.
Sometimes more is more.
Yeah. But this scene wherein Martin and Roy start going ham on these other
Yeah,
Nazis, Martin gets the shotgun out. There's 4 shells in it. He blows away 4 of the 5 Nazis, and the 5th Nazi, he takes out hammer or whatever he's got, and it just starts wailing, or
yeah,
his axe. He's
yeah.
got a little hatchet. He's just wailing on it. Hannah comes up from behind. She's caught up
Oh
with
my
him,
God,
touches
yes.
him on the shoulder. He immediately turns around and just lands this axe in her neck. And I was mad. I think
Yeah,
I
yeah,
hate this scene.
yeah. I did
This
not,
scene makes
yeah.
no sense. And you
Especially
just,
after that weird cabin, like especially after that weird scene where he's like, "Hey, do you want me to choke you out in front of your friends?"
and also we just killed off, I think, our most compelling survivor.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
second most. Vegrand is compelling, but like I'm more rooting for Hannah because I know
yeah,
her better.
yeah.
We just killed her off by accident. You
Just so
know,
we can have, just so we can have, and I mean, and all the actors do all the actors are pretty spot on.
yeah,
Like they do a great job, but this sort of like the silent crying and the now we have to sit here and watch him like process the, oh my God, I killed my only love, and Roy is like, you killed your only, and we all did, and it's like time just condenses and stops for like a full 5 minutes.
yeah,
The rest of the world, the Nazis, everything else is just put on hold while we watch actors emote.
yeah.
Is one of
And
my
it's
least favorite things.
also fully unearned. There's lots of stories wherein someone kills the one or the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
uh, uh, self-fulfilling prophecy,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
An
yeah,
Oedipal story,
yeah,
right? Where it all comes full circle and you're like,
yeah.
I've avoided the prophecy. And in the end, you're like, I 100%
I
lived out
stepped
the
right into
prophecy.
it. Yeah,
There is no prophecy that this is going to happen. There's
no,
nothing that sets up that this is how it will end between the two of
no.
them. And it's just so undeserved. And I was so mad that, like, I'm not mad that I lose a character I like. That's going to happen in a horror movie. We just watched Vagrant get quartered, and I liked Vagrant. But Hannah was a survivor, and for her to come up while a dude is going ape shit with a
Yeah.
hatchet to just touch him on his arm, that's dumb.
No, nah, nah.
And then Roy, here comes Herzog and more reinforcements, and they gotta keep fighting. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Martin gets bit.
Yes. On the arm. Kills
He
that
gets
zombie.
kills that zombie, and then says, I've gotta amputate my own arm.
They're like, they taught us how to amputate in med school. I was like, not on yourself.
And
And
not with a
certainly not with an electric
chainsaw.
chainsaw. Or and not like, no, what, huh, what? And also like it's kind of a little jokey dialogue of like, they're like, I think Royce is, it's like, yeah, you're like half Jewish. Like, I don't think they're not
I
out
don't
to
think they want you to
recruit
join
you.
them. Yeah.
Yes. But sure enough, Martin is in crazy eyes mode. So he fully takes a chainsaw to his arm, which I was like, I feel like you would probably pass the fuck out halfway through that. Again, going back to this, like, it takes more than one chop to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Pop.
Yeah.
You know, like you can't just be like, ah, and it's over in a second.
Yeah.
Like actually one of the most effective productions of Macbeth I ever saw.
Uh-huh.
You know, at the end of Macbeth, they cut off his head. And they're like, look, oh, it's his head.
Uh-huh.
They took a full 2 minutes to cut off Macbeth's head. So you just watched And it was
Whoa.
all set in like a high school Catholic schoolgirls kind of thing. So it was like kind of like Harry Pottery
Uh-huh.
Catholic school. It was like The Craft meets Macbeth. But you sat in silence and just watched this girl saw into something like it was kind of down below,
Yeah.
but it made you realize how fucking long it takes to chop up a body.
Yeah.
Never mind your own body,
Yep.
even with an electric saw. I was like, I call BS on this. And he's
Yes.
like, and he just sort of stands up and he like lights the Nazi on fire, sticks his stump into the fire to cauterize, and then he's
Yeah.
like, okay, ready to go.
And then one, I think the dumbest comedic beat is when, after all
Oh
of this,
God.
a zombie comes up out of the snow and bites him in the dick,
Bites
basically.
him in the dick. I literally stopped and I almost texted you at this point. I was like, did he just did that zombie just bite him in the dick? It's not. It's like his leg or something, but it's very much like I think this movie makes it very clear. They're like, we're gonna have poop jokes, we're gonna have like dick jokes.
Yeah.
This is what comedy is since time immemorial.
Yeah, but done better. I love a good poop joke. I love a good dick joke.
Yeah.
I was shopping last weekend, and I was saw this store that had a big sign in the window and an arrow pointing up the stairwell to where you could
Okay.
access them, but it just said "come shop" and it had an arrow pointing up, but the way it looks like it reads is "come shop
Come
upstairs."
shop.
So I took a photo of it and I texted it to our friend Symphony to be like, "No thanks, I have more than I need."
I'm all
And
full
she's
up.
like, "Yeah, I'm all full up."
Yeah.
And so I think jokes like that are hilarious.
Yeah.
This movie fails at finding that funny bone for
It
me.
straight people comedy. This is
Straight
what I
people
like.
come. Yeah.
Listen, these are times when, as a gay man, I'm like, oh, you straights, what is
Yeah.
going on here?
I would like to challenge my fellow straight people to be funnier. Hashtag be funnier. That's there you go. So they they think they've defeated all the zombies, but this
Yeah,
is where Herzog gets his one line of dialogue where he
yeah,
shouts, "Arise!" And just dozens of these motherfuckers pop up.
yeah. All 300
Yeah.
apparently were like scattered like poppies underneath the snow, just hanging out, waiting till they're gold. I question
I
mark.
don't know. They make a mad dash. Roy gets clocked with a hammer running
Yeah,
full speed. That's a brutal hit.
yeah.
And also, it's not like his head explodes. Roy is like
Yep.
dazed, which
Yeah.
is really it's a
It's like
disturbing.
Herzog who does it. Like it's very much like he like clocks him once on the head, Herzog, and then just like, nope, that's it. What comes after though is a bit confusing.
I was so confused as to what happened.
Duck, 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 intestine.
Ah!
I don't
He impales
what?
himself on a tree. We have watched a lot of horror movies lately with people with soft bodies.
Yeah, we have that pitchfork and Pumpkinhead.
Yes,
That
the
like a death blow that you just like walked into a pitchfork and now
yeah.
you're dead. You like I have literally run full force, hit my noggin on a
Mhm.
tree branch,
Yeah.
was winded, sat on the
Yep.
ground for 10 minutes while my boyfriend went, "Are you okay?" And I said no for 10 minutes.
Uh-huh.
But then I got up and walked the fuck away.
Yes.
But I don't,
The
I
fence
mean,
post from
maybe.
The Omen that impales
Oh,
Gregory Peck's
yeah.
bicep. Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
like, I
this
guess maybe if you run into a sharp branch, that will suck. But like the chances of it, like in like latching onto your intestine and then you just keep going,
limited. Limited
limited.
possibilities.
Yes.
Roy gets impaled on this tree, and then his intestines get hung up on the branch, so he's trying to keep walking, and he can't go anymore because he's tied to the tree.
Gross.
And then he gets beaten down, and Herzog reaches down and pulls this gold pocket watch from
Yes.
Roy's sweatpants.
Again, yes.
So
Okay.
Martin sees this and understands they just want their treasure
Yeah.
back.
Because he goes and they don't come after him.
He goes all the way back up to their burned down cabin.
Yes. Oh,
They
that's right. Yes, 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 yes,
they
yes.
corner him,
Which
But
is
he
also, again, a little bit of, I call a little bit of bullshit on this. I'm
Mhm.
like, that cabin would still be on fire. It is not so
Yes.
long ago that that cabin would still be smoldering.
Yes.
Also, that wooden box,
Uh-huh.
unless it has an actual curse on it, like some sort of magic aspect to it, that should be burnt up.
No. That box is in great shape. It's not even charred.
No.
But
Huh?
he digs out the stolen box of treasure, and the Nazis all stop, and he
Yeah.
shows it to them, and they allow him to run off
Yeah.
because they just wanted their stolen treasure back.
My precious.
The
Listen, it gets really boring at night up in
Yeah,
the mountains of Norway, and
we like
all you've
looking at
got is your
gold.
Nazi gold. You just want
Yeah,
to just look at it and touch it.
and he manages to. I don't know how he got the keys because
They were in it.
Hannah and
Yeah.
Liv had the keys,
Well, it's
and
like
Liv
Hannah
blew
handed them to
up.
Liv. Yeah. And Liv, she done exploded.
Yeah, he murdered Hannah, and I can't imagine he thought to search her pockets for the
Yeah.
car keys after he killed his girlfriend.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
then,
like literally, like it. Yeah, a bit of continuity there.
yep, he makes it all the way to the car, gets in, is about to start the engine when that coin Hannah had slipped into his pocket falls to the floor. There's Herzog at his window. Crash. The end.
End credits.
Let's rate this movie.
Yes, let's.
If you're horror squeamish, how approachable is this movie? On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being this movie is not at all approachable and 10 being super approachable, I'll give Dead Snow 1. Yeah, like
It's a lot.
one gold coin in the fountain. I will. Yes, it's a lot, man. It's so gory. It's so bloody. It's so jump scary. It's a pretty straightforward movie. When people talk about, I don't like horror movies. I'm horror movie averse. This is probably the movie they're thinking of. It follows all the beats of the 70s, 80s slasher in the woods type of movies, except with zombie Nazis. And yeah, but if you are into the blood and guts of it all, it's fun. It's a real fun. It's a real fun movie to watch. Like don't think too hard about the plot. But I don't know. I think the deaths are really fun. So there it is. But one on approachability. Don't watch this movie if you're squeamish about horror. Cecil, what do you think as a horror film? Where in the canon is this? How do you rate it?
This one's pretty high up there, but like you said, it also it's because it's very self-aware.
Uh-huh.
It knows what the horror movie tropes are, and it tries to make light of them. However, it does a lot of really great stuff
Uh-huh.
around them. And it also does a lot of really great stuff in a time before this sort of horror renaissance. Like this is from 2008, right? So this is an IFC, this is an independent. This is kind of before we get to elevated horror, before people were kind of taking looks at horror films and be like, wait, what if we make a horror movie that's more than just a horror movie? And I think
Uh-huh.
this movie really does reverence to the horror movie genre. It's inspired another sequel. There's a talk of a third coming out with a Nazi Hitler, apparently, or
Mm-hmm.
something. However, straight people, y'all need to get your comedy together
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because you're not as funny as you think you are. So for that, I'm going to deduct a point, and there I'm going to give it 6 out of 10 knit cable knit sweaters.
Great. Let's figure out what movie we're gonna watch next. You've got a scare die. I have a style die. We'll roll those up, see what movie matches those two things. So, Cecil, on your die, if you roll a 1, our next movie scare is isolation. 2, something haunted. 3, a killer object. 4, evil bureaucracy. 5, animals, or 6, wild card. Whatever scare we want.
That's a 6.
We finally got that wild
Wild
card.
card. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay.
Great, great, great. All right. So, we'll roll up a style and then we'll pick whatever movie you want that fits that style. So if I roll a 1, Asian horror. If I roll a 2, 1990s horror. If I roll a 3, something based on a book. 4, something with a female director. 5, a one-word title. Film with just one word as its title. And 6, a sci-fi horror. So what do we got for our style? Oh, God. It just rolled onto the rug, to the floor, and then under the door.
Oh, so the dice is in another room.
The die is in another room. What if I picked up another die in my desk drawer?
That die is gone forever.
All right, let's try this again. I need to get I need a box for myself
Yeah,
that I
you
can
need
roll
a
the
box top.
die.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, a little shoebox top.
I don't have that. Let's just try and do this. The wildness of the die roll. What do we got? I got a 2. 1990s wild card.
Oh, all right.
Okay, so what did we put on our list? We've got oh, these are fun ones.
Do you want me to kick it off?
Yeah, kick it off with the 3 movies you put on here.
So I put 3 movies on here. The first is In the Mouth of Madness, which is pretty, I gotta say, like one of my top 5 horror movies of all time. I think it's because I've just seen it a lot. I'm a 90, I came up in the 90s. It's Lovecraftian, but not explicitly Lovecraftian. It's got
Uh-huh.
Sam Neill in it, and he's amazing. It's like kind of spoofing, but also honoring Stephen King. It's got some crazy practical effects, mind bending. I think this movie is fucking dope.
I've never seen this. I love me some John Carpenter. I love me some Sam Neill.
Yeah.
This looks really great.
The second one I put on there is a movie that I have not seen in well over a decade. And I know it was so popular when it came out, but I've not seen it in a long time. So I put Seven on here
Mm-hmm.
because to me, it's very 90s.
Yeah.
And I would just like to go back and revisit this.
Yeah. I would too. I saw this in the theater when it came out, and I have not seen it since.
Yeah, I think I always do, like, for movies that I think are good, I usually do or movies that are very hyped. I see them in the theater or recent, and then then I'm like, you know what? We're gonna wait like 3 to 6 months. Let the hype die down and then go back and watch again and reassess. Let's see. This is now the third step is like now wait a decade and reassess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then the last one I put on here is The People Under the Stairs, which is again a movie that I have not seen. It's a Wes Craven joint, if I remember
Mm-hmm.
right. This movie is going to be a little bit bonkers. Have you ever seen this movie, Jeffrey?
I've never seen this movie. No.
It's got a remake. It's sort of like racial tension, like 90s racial tension, urban kind of vibes to it. And again, like it was on USA Up All Night. I think it's got some cheesy elements to it, but I think there's some interesting shit at the heart of it that I kind of want to watch for this podcast.
Okay, interesting.
What you got, Jeffrey?
I put on here 3 movies I picked for the wild card. I picked Misery.
Oh yeah,
Just classic Stephen King, Kathy Bates, Jimmy Caan.
you dirty bird.
Dirty Bird. Incredible book, incredible movie. I rewatched this movie last year, I think, and would love to rewatch it again for the show.
Yeah.
And also just I think both of us are real suckers for like powerhouse acting.
Powerhouse acting, also powerhouse script.
Yeah.
Like tight.
Really,
directing.
really good. Second one, just one of my favorite B movie creature features is Tremors.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's one I've wanted to watch again for the show. I watched this a lot as a kid in the 90s, and I would like to see it again.
Fucking Reba McEntire, if I remember right.
Yep, Reba McEntire,
Oh,
Kevin Bacon,
Reba.
Fred Ward, I think, is in this movie.
Yes,
yeah, it's a
yes.
wild ride. And then one I just changed out. I did have The Sixth Sense on here, and I'm like,
okay. Hey,
Sixth Sense is great. I don't know how much I want to talk about Sixth Sense. I kind of want to rewatch Jacob's Ladder. So that's the third movie I put on here.
Love it.
Another one that I haven't seen in more than 20 years.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 we
got
have.
a good spread for our 90s movies. We've got like super serious. We've got quirky. We've got psychological. We've got funny. Yeah. Let the dice decide.
Okay, I'm gonna propose something to you. Since I had to dig out a second die to roll because the other one slid on the hardwood floor under the doorway into the other room.
Okay.
I could just say, instead of rolling a die, I'll just open this door and look out there and see what the die is already.
This is the most fraught with tension. This is we're making our own horror movie. So Jeffrey, if you walk off this Zoom call and you don't come back, if you turn into a ghost, My quip will be, I'm getting too old for this shit. And then this podcast is over. And Jeffrey Cranor was never heard from again.
That's right. All right. So 1, In the Mouth of Madness. 2, Seven. 3, People Under the Stairs. 4, Misery. 5, Tremors. If it's a 6, we'll watch Jacob's Ladder. What do you think of that? All right.
I love it.
Here I go.
Open the door.
I've got to open my little sound dampening curtains first, and then we'll. That's a 2. What do we got?
Oh, we're going to watch Slevin.
Oh, Selvin.
Selvin.
What's in the box? I like saying it smells like in the box around here. What's in the box?
Yes.
All right, let's watch 7.
Yeah, let's get real serious. David
Shit.
Fincher, yeah? Like real serious David Fincher, right?
Damn.
David Fincher? We'll find out.
Yeah. They'll let us know by the end of the movie who directed it.
I don't know.
Well, great. Well, thank you all for listening. Thank you, Cecil, for talking with me. If you have thoughts on Dead Snow or ideas for other movies that would have been good, like what is your wild card 90s horror movie that you want to watch, let us know on Instagram at randomhorror9 or on our Patreon, where we have public discussion threads for each episode, and you do not need to be a paying member to participate. So watch 7 from 1995, I believe, with us this week, and come on back next Tuesday for a new episode. Have a restful night with no one trying to fuck you while you're sitting on the commode or nothing. Boo.
Boo.